Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Healthy and Safety Community Meeting of April 2nd, 2025. Tonight, I'm excited to have our police department here to talk about a new program, a new product that we hope will that we're able to get eventually, and also to be able to help with the needs of our police department. So tonight I'd like to introduce Chief DeRoos, who will then introduce the presenters. Thank you.
Yes, thanks for having me, Councilmember Tui and Councilmember Zarlingo. We're here to talk to you today about a drone as a first responder program. We already have drones here in Everett and have had for several years, but this is the new technology available to us that both Captain Robert Getz and some representatives from Flock Safety, the company we want to partner with, are here to explain in a little more detail. There's a lot to it, even though we already have drones. This is a lot different. This technology is really expanding and changing rapidly. So I'm going to quickly turn it over to Captain Robert Getz, and he's going to get us kicked off, and then there'll be plenty of time, we hope, for some questions at the end.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, council members, for allowing me to present this evening. The format for this evening is I'm going to go over just a quick synopsis of what we would like ultimately the council permission for the mayor to sign an agreement on. And then I want to turn it right over to our friends from Flock Safety to provide you with a demonstration of the product itself. So again, very excited to introduce the program Drone as a First Responder. Today, we are here to brief you on the next chapter of cutting edge technology available to us, produced by a company you know and that we trust, Flock Safety. Introducing Drone as a First Responder into our community response options allows us to continue our commitment to modern and effective policing that improves the safety and the security of our community. This DFR solution aims to enhance our existing highly successful drone program by deploying 2 strategically placed drone docks, providing nearly continuous city coverage 24/7. The program aims to enhance real-time situational awareness and rapid response capabilities, which, during a time of limited officer resources, serves as a force multiplier. Here are some of our program objectives that we hope to see during what will be a trial first year for us. De-escalation is very important to law enforcement, both in the past and in the future. And we believe the use of this product for de-escalation will be critical. You will see some of that in the demonstration from Flock, and we'll get to talk about some of those stories afterwards during the Q&A session. It'll allow our officers to have improved decision-making through real-time data. Again, you'll see this in the demonstration, but having information at the scene more quickly than we've had it in the past is going to be critical for their safety and ultimately for the safety of our community. It's going to increase, we hope, the speed at which we apprehend criminal suspects. It's definitely going to help us in the area of search and rescue. We'll talk a little bit more about that as well. There's so much more and so many more possibilities. We've just had 2 examples over the last week that we'll talk about at the end of this presentation that I think are really compelling for the use of this product. Improving police efficiency and response time is one of the benefits of this program that we've seen across other programs in the United States that have been using this DFR. While responding in the response area, the 3.5-mile radius from the dock, it's been reported that there's about an 86-second response time from call to arrival on scene for the drone. Our priority 1 calls now, today, I should say in 2024, those are calls that are of the highest priority for us to respond to. Our response times are just over 4 minutes. Agencies that have used DFR programs have the ability to, or they've reported the opportunity to resolve at least 20% of their calls where they didn't have to have a ground unit respond. We'll talk about what that looks like as well. But if we can experience just half of that in a response year, that will allow us the opportunity to redeploy assets in areas that are critical to public safety. Addressing community concerns are one of the most important parts or aspects of my responsibility as the project manager. Again, utilizing unmanned aircraft systems is not new to us. Drones, they're not new to us. We've had drones for at least 3 or 4 years here in the department. In advance of that, we wrote a policy. That policy was written in consultation with the ACLU, the Department of Justice, the COPS office, and the International Association of Chiefs of Police. Why did we do that? Because we understand that our community members recognize the need for their civil liberties to be protected. Here's some things that our drones will not be used for. Drones will not be used for proactive routine patrol, random surveillance, immigration enforcement, the monitoring of First Amendment activities, or to track persons or vehicles to or from medical facilities to monitor healthcare services. Our drones will not be equipped with facial recognition software. What we will have is a public-facing web page that will provide transparency with metrics such as response times, calls cleared, number of subjects located, and much, much more. That too will be part of the presentation from our Flock friends as well. And connecting the community is important too. We have already had several meetings that presented during several neighborhood meetings. Tomorrow night, we'll have a virtual public meeting that is scheduled to occur at 6:30. As we move forward in this process, we will continue to meet with our neighborhood groups. And as we deploy the program, we will periodically meet with those same groups in order to give them some stories about some of our successes, which we anticipate will be many. Funding. Funding is very important. We're hoping that you will give approval for the mayor to sign a 2-year agreement with Flock. The first year, let me step back a little bit. About 3 months ago, maybe 4, Garrett and Flock Safety came to us with an offer that was truly amazing. They wanted us to be the first in the state to deploy their what is called Doc 2. And they offered it to us for an entire year at no cost. We were very excited to take them up on their offer and started doing our research. As part of the agreement, or as part of the agreement, we recognized that one dock would only cover a portion of the city. So we went back to Flock and said, hey, are there any other solutions that we can come up with so that we could cover the entire city? Because that's critical to the chief. It's critical to all of us doing this project. Flock came back to us with an incredibly generous offer for a second dock at a tremendously reduced rate of $50,000. We have that money available in general funds. So we have it in some legislative funds that we can use that are not going to affect our budget issues that we have today. As we move forward for year 2 of this agreement and the funding sources for that, we are actively working on that project. We anticipate and have already actually submitted a grant for the second year of this project. We will continue to work on seeking out grant funding. We will also utilize whatever funding we might be able to find within our own budget that does not affect our general budget. And we're also going to make an effort to do some public-private partnerships. We don't know exactly how that might look right now, but we are in the process of reaching out to some of our community members and some public entities who might want to partner with us on this project for year 2. So that ends my presentation. I'd like to turn it over to Flock so that they can give you a live demonstration of Doc 2.
Thank you, Captain. My name is Garrett Thompson. As Captain mentioned, I live right here in Washington, and I cover the entire state for Flock Safety. I think we'd really like the drones and the product to do the talking today. So I'm going to introduce Brett Conda, who is our specialist on the West Coast for DFR at Flock Safety, and he's going to take us through about a 10 to 15 minute test flight, which is a real-time flight with one of our docs. And I'll turn it over to Brett.
Thanks, Garrett. Captain, Chief, council members, thank you for having us. We really appreciate your time. And what we're going to be showing you today is a live demonstration of our drone as a first responder technology and program. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And please let me know once you are able to see that. Oh, I think the meeting owner will actually need to allow me to share my screen real quick. Good to go. Okay. Thank you. Can everybody see my screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. So what's a little bit different about drone as a first responder versus the way that Everett PD today is using their drone program is that the way I'm going to be doing this is actually flying the drone through a laptop, as opposed to what's historically been done of flying a drone using a remote controller when you get on scene. The technology that we've built now allows you to be quite literally anywhere in the world. And as long as you have a laptop and a decent internet connection, you can now manage your airspace and monitor the airspace, and then ultimately fly the drone to calls for service. Now, Captain mentioned one drone and one location is capable of covering 38 square miles. Now, what you see on my screen, the blue shaded area, is a 38 square mile coverage area. Now, one element of this that helps speed up response times is we are going to integrate with the computer-aided dispatch system, license plate readers, and the existing infrastructure within the city. So when I go ahead and launch the drone, which we're going to do live right now, this drone is currently in Northern California, and I'm in another remote location. So the drone's going to go ahead and take off here. And what's important about drone as a first responder, and Captain mentioned this is all about reducing response times. And what we're seeing on average across our customers around the country is about an 86 to 90-second average response time, which is handily beating the national average. Now, when you get on a scene quickly, what that allows you to do is ultimately send that live video stream out to officers that are responding to that call for service. They're going to be able to watch that video on the computer in their vehicle and have more information to make better decisions once they get there. Now, again, I'm currently controlling this drone live from my laptop. Now, because I'm doing a screen share, everybody, this video might look a little bit choppy to you. We can blame Zoom for that specifically. But what we have to make sure that everybody has situational awareness is a mobile app. So the minute that the drone takes off, stakeholders within the police department are going to get a push notification that says a drone is on its way to a call for service. Do you want to watch the live video feed? But another way that we can distribute this information is we can actually send out a one-time spectator link via text message or via email to any stakeholder that needs to watch this video footage, which is what I could do right here. Now, we mentioned flying with all of our existing infrastructure. The license plate readers that you have across Everett, if you imagine a license plate reader alert comes directly into our software, we are able to see every LPR alert, the direction of travel, and then the last known image of that vehicle. For example, I see that I have a black Tesla, California plate 9FQW513. Now imagine that this is a stolen vehicle and it's going through Everett. I'd be able to hit that one single button and fly the drone directly to that location that you're seeing here. And I mentioned DFR is all about speed. Right now, my drone is flying at 53 miles an hour, which is the fastest in the industry, and it really allows you to get the information that you need quickly. Now, as I fly this drone, what's important to understand is how far away I can actually see things that are happening. Now, These are retail buildings here, commercial buildings. And you can see if there was an incident happening on top of this roof, for example, I would be able to zoom in and see what's happening in this location. Now, I apologize if there is any latency or breaking up of the video. I am currently flying from my mobile hotspot in a hotel room. Not exactly ideal, of which the police department would obviously not be doing that. But from a search and rescue perspective, which is what Captain mentioned, imagine if I had a lost child, right? Or a lost person within the city, but it happened in the middle of night. Well, I would need to have a thermal camera. So what you see here is the ability for me to use a thermal camera and get heat signatures of a stolen person, potentially a search and rescue mission, potentially a suspect that we are searching for. We also have night vision as well. Now, night vision is not necessarily something that's going to look different today because we're flying during the day, but we do have that capability. Now, another element of this is, again, your calls for service. So I can see directly in my system from your computer-aided dispatch that I have a priority 1 robbery call taking place at 1524 2nd Street, and I'm able to send the drone directly to that location, which you can see here. And I know that I'm T-minus 28 seconds from that location. Now, while I'm doing that, I mentioned earlier, we give you the ability to manage your airspace and ensure that you fly safely. This is our piece of technology that we call AeroMap. This allows me to see all of the aviation and activity in the area, of which right now I see 1 plane. And when I click on that aircraft, I can get the tail number of the plane, the altitude, and the speed. But why that's important is because we built a piece of technology, and you're going to see 2 circles that are around my live drone right now. This is a 0.5 mile radius and a 1 mile radius. If any aircraft, helicopter, drone enters this bubble, I'm going to get a loud beeping sound, and the drone is going to actually lower to deconflict and make sure that it doesn't run into anything. So this is a really important element to allow you to fly very safely throughout the city. Because you do have aviation traffic, it's going to be important to be able for us to track that on the ground. So now you can see in the matter of 1 flight, which our drones stay in the air for about 40 minutes, I've now responded to a stolen vehicle alert, and I've now responded to a robbery call, right? And I can continue to fly to missions as I need to. Now, if I ever needed to take a picture of something, we're just going to go to this rooftop. For evidence, I can simply hit P on my keyboard. I can take a picture. I can see that image right here, and I can send a text message out to whoever needs that evidence. Now I'm going to go ahead and return the drone to home, which I know is 0.2 miles away from me. It's going to take me 1 minute and 14 seconds to get there. And while I'm doing that, there's one other capability that we wanted to highlight. This is our product called Flock 911. What this allows me to do as the drone operator is to live listen to a 911 call. And I have artificial intelligence transcribing that 911 call that you can see right here. And I also get the location of that 911 call so I can send the drone very quickly. This allows the police department to send the drone to a call for service before it even gets to the computer-aided dispatch system. This is kind of the ultimate in response times and allows you to very, very quickly get the drone on scene, give officers more information to ultimately make better decisions on scene. And I can see my drone flying here. This is what we call our mini map. Now this works very similar to like Google or a search engine. I can put in any address that I want right into this destination bar, and I can fly directly to that location. And I can always track exactly where my aircraft is at all times. Now this drone is automatically descending. At this location, we do not have one of our drone docking stations, but we do deploy, like Captain said, a drone dock. It's basically a home for the drone. Will sit up on top of a rooftop. This is where the drone lives. The batteries get swapped out every time that the drone lands so it can take off to another mission. And ultimately, that is how we would deploy the technology. Now, real quickly here, as soon as we land the drone, we'd like to go over the administrative side of this and the record-keeping side of this. Because like Captain mentioned, transparency is going to be really, really important for the adoption of this across the country. And we want communities to understand that, again, this is not a proactive tool. This is a reactive tool only going to calls for service. Now, what you're going to see here, I'm going to quickly go through. These are my flight logs. So every time one of the pilots at the police department flies a mission, they're going to be prompted to fill out this information so that we have clear and concise record keeping. And at all times, the department is going to have access to this information. So this is the live cloud-based video of that mission. I'm able to watch this back. The department is able to download this live video, upload it into evidence.com, see where the drone was as it was capturing that footage right here. And if you ever needed to export this to a PDF, you would be able to using this button here. Now, what we've built is kind of the last part of the workflow here is what Captain mentioned. This is our community engagement dashboard. This is designed to automatically update and live on the police department's website so that you all, city council, community members can see the success of the program. This is one of our customers in Southern California. They've been operational with us since June of 24. And this is a similar size city to Everett. So we wanted to highlight it. And what you can see here is in less than a year, they've already responded to over 1,100 calls for service. They've cleared about 20% of those calls for service without even having to send a patrol resource. So when we talk about force multiplier technologies, that's really what we mean, as well as cost savings. They're averaging an 80-second average response time across their city. The drone is on scene first 81% of the time. And the drone has been able to locate now 750 subjects in their city. And you can see the types of calls that the police department is responding to here. Quite a few welfare checks, disturbance calls, suspicious subjects, and we even take it one level further to where now you can actually see the flight path of the drone, the flight ID, the date, launch time, and duration, and then what type of call the department was responding to. Then again, this is all in the sake of transparency and ensuring that everybody within the community knows why the department is sending drones to these calls for service. And ultimately, our mission at Flock Safety is to eliminate crime and create a safer future for communities all around the country. And with our suite of hardware and software, we think this is now the best way to respond to calls for service and get there very, very quickly. And that was a very rapid demo, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
I'd like to give them a chance to ask some of those questions. I'm sure there's a bunch, but there's a couple things that I want to unpack just a little bit from what's been said, both in Robert Getz's presentation and as well as the Flock demo. We had to go quick because we wanted the demo to be shown to you. But first, I want to talk a little bit more about the money. Like was mentioned, we were given a very generous offer by Flock. Part of this is because of our ongoing relationship and what we've built, this relationship of trust we've built with them over the last year. This agreement is for the first year. After that year's up, we can opt out at no further expense to the city. After that first year, if we want to continue in the agreement, that's when we start paying their full costs of, in this case, we want to deploy 2 drones in our city. We are going to begin with the end in mind, and we'll actively look for funding for year 2 with the assumption that this program proves to be something that we believe and you believe our community members want. And our goal on that, I guess, goal of getting that money in advance or getting that money starting from day one or going out there and finding the money, as I like to say, will be to do that without any impact at all on our general revenue dollars. right? We live in a time where our budget is tight, and I don't want to try to make it tighter by deploying a program like this. But with the offer that was given to us, we just felt it would be irresponsible of us to not at least look deeper into this, especially in just this short demo, you're seeing what the possibilities are with this type of technology. We have the technology now. The difference in what you saw there and what we do now is it's in a box in the back of our pilot's car, who also happen to be patrol officers. They have to drive to a call where it's needed. They have to get a visual observer there as well, another officer. They have to unpack it. They have to launch it. And then by the time that happens, minutes have passed. And for some of the calls, and you can imagine some of the calls we've had in Everett over the last few years, minutes are way too long. This allows us to get there sooner. And Captain Getz is going to share a couple stories of what have happened in the last couple of weeks and the impact this type of technology can have on the calls that we are experiencing here and what that really could mean to us if we engage in this pilot program. So I wanted to touch on the money piece first. We're not going to be asking us to find money within our current budget. Our job at the police department in cooperation with city leadership is to go find ways to get that money, including grants that were mentioned, public-private partnerships, and maybe public-public partnerships with some of our partner agencies like Burlington Northern or the Port of Everett or the Tulalip Tribes or Lowe's, who have all shared some interest in maybe being a part of a partnership like this. But that's yet to come. And if we can't find that money, Flock is included in their agreement an opt-out clause that we can opt out of it. I'm sure there's a whole bunch more to talk about there, but I just wanted to talk on that piece. Like, only other thing I'll say, even though I love talking about the technology itself, is just our community, our dedication to community transparency. And that includes these meetings that we'll be having. We'll go to every neighborhood meeting that wants us to come and talk about it. We're creating a special meeting tomorrow night. We've got media in the room here that will make sure that a link to that meeting gets out. So if people want to attend virtually, they can. If you can't attend virtually, we're going to open up our South Precinct community room so people can come attend in person and be there in the room. That's where I'll be, and certainly can ask questions there at the end of that at the end of that presentation. But we want to do this with community support. Everybody we've talked about so far is excited about the opportunity, mostly because of what they've seen us already do with the cameras that Flock Safety has provided us over the last, not even the last year, since September. So, did you have anything else to comment on before questions?
No questions for now, and then
Yeah.
we can talk about it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. So we'll start with questions from other council members. Any questions?
Almost tongue in cheek. Are they looking at this for parking enforcement?
That's a great question. I realize it was done with humor. I'll tell you this. When we came to you with the Flock Safety cameras, the license plate reading cameras, we really revolved the application of those cameras around two things: crimes that are reported to us and life safety concerns. So we're not, as was mentioned earlier, we're not just sending it out to see what people are doing, right? Parking infractions are not crimes, right? So we will respond when somebody says, something's going on in my neighborhood. I heard gunshots. I heard, I think there's a slide on the bluff. There's a stranded kayaker near Jetty Island. There's a walk away from one of our Alzheimer's facilities. And why don't you share the story about the collision that happened the other day? I think this is really telling on how technology could help us and keep the public safe.
Two stories. The first happened last week. I was sitting at my desk and I heard a pretty frantic, I shouldn't say frantic, but a serious call come out of a vehicle that had driven off the roadway off of 19th and into Silver Lake. Not off the road, but actually into Silver Lake. And obviously that resulted in multiple police officers responding code, fire personnel also responding code, and we made a call to our dive master to get our dive team up and going. There were probably 10 vehicles responding to Silver Lake code to try and get this person out of their vehicle, because the report was vehicles in the water, person still in the vehicle. As it turns out, the vehicle wasn't in the water. when the first unit arrived. The vehicle wasn't in the water, and the person was actually trying to walk up and get up the embankment. Had we had the DFR program in place, the flight time from the South Precinct, where we propose one of the docks may end up, to Silver Lake would have been less than a minute. Once on scene, the pilot could have de-escalated all the other officers and firefighters and divers who were responding to the team, because we would have seen that the driver was safe and out of the vehicle and walking up the bank. So that's kind of one example of what this program would do from a public safety perspective on an incident that's not a crime. But as you all know, whenever we drive code to a call, that is risky, not just to us, but to the community in general. And so whenever we can mitigate that, whenever we can shut that down and not have to respond in that fashion, it's de-escalation.
And I just want to add on to this a little bit. So if you imagine, everybody here knows Silver Lake, you imagine it's a central location in the south end, and you imagine 10-ish law enforcement and fire professionals driving lights and siren to that location from all different directions. It takes a period of time before they get there. That drone is a first responder. That DFR drone gets there. It clearly is not what it originally sounded like. All that response ends, and those people, just as part of what we do, we go to that next call on the screen, right? So all those people that would have been tied up and got all the way to Silver Lake are now still in the field responding to other calls for service. It's going to dramatically reduce our call response time on all our calls, because the calls that come in that look like priority are either already cleared off before I look at them as an officer, or as I'm responding, I get real situational awareness of stuff that's happening ahead of me that allows me to either change my response. Maybe I still go, but I'm not going code now, which is our term for lights and siren, right? And we're not potentially getting in collisions or causing collisions. And we're actually going back to do something else that may be, frankly, more important, but we had to respond because we didn't have the information yet. So you're keeping cops in the field. You're reducing the burden on other public safety partners like fire, and you're allowing us to do our job more efficiently at a time where we all know it's been hard to recruit and attract law enforcement officers to this profession, not just us, but everybody. So it really is, it helps our officers be more efficient and allows them to use their time better. I mean, there's a long list of pluses, but I really wanted this situation, because it was real life, to be kind of explained, like, how would it happen the day after we have a DFR program to how it happens today. And I know you had another story, sorry.
And this is actually a criminal case that happened within this week. The call was a violation of a domestic violence protection order in the central area of town. By the time our officers arrived, or when our officers arrived, the suspect in this case saw our officers arriving, went out the back door and ran down a ravine and into the wooded area. The drone is a first responder. The pilots in this case that are sitting at the pilot station, either in the South or North Precinct, will have the option to respond to that call immediately in advance of the officers arriving on scene. If we had a DFR that had responded to that scene, the pilot could have recognized where the suspect had fled to and been able to guide our officers to that location. As it turned out, he fled into the woods. Our only drone pilot that was on duty yesterday, unfortunately, was on another call, happened to be at the jail, so we didn't have a drone pilot available. We had to call in a drone pilot from I believe it was Marysville that responded. So the time delay in that allowed for the suspect to not immediately be apprehended. And that's important when we're talking about domestic violence. Getting somebody in custody as quickly as possible when it relates to an issue like that is really critical to the safety of the person who's protected and our community in general. So again, another instance where a DFR program would have enhanced our ability to apprehend a criminal suspect in a more timely manner. Ultimately, later on in that afternoon, we were able, through the community's help, find the suspect and arrest them. but I think we could have had them in custody a lot earlier had we had this program in place.
And one more example, because I know the questions are coming, but I think it's not our example, but it's a real life example. It's actually in your your council digest thing that was sent out today. It's Chula Vista Police Department and their use of the drone to get real time situational awareness on a call. For those that may be watching this that don't have access to that digest, can Google this and it'll come up on YouTube. It was a call of a person sitting in front of a fast food place waving a gun around, a person that was under the influence of drugs. The drone gets there and watches, and sure enough, this person's sitting there right out, just like it's everyday business, waving this gun around. When the drone arrived and was able to focus in on what this person was doing, they eventually realized it was one of those guns that's a lighter. It looks like a gun, but it's a lighter. And they were able to see that and let the troops on the ground know that's what it was. There was still a criminal act occurring. Some other things were occurring on this call. Eventually, this person got arrested for some public drug use, I believe. But the response and the way an officer responds to somebody waving a gun around versus somebody that's got a lighter in their hand is very different. And it's important to me, it's important to us that our officers are not put in situations where they have to use higher levels of force. And sometimes that comes with more knowledge about what's going on that scene. And that call, I mean, watch it. I think you'll feel the same way I did, may have saved something much more dramatically from occurring during that incident. So that's a lot of examples. I'm sure you have questions.
In my previous life, I worked for 25 years or so in leading edge technology and communications, basically wireless phones, the first 4 or 5 generations of those, and wireless networking. And one of the things that I've seen is that this combination of technologies can sometimes move a lot faster than our laws, regulations, and sometimes procedures do. And so I've been particularly attentive to concerns about civil rights and privacy. Some of that's been addressed here. And I have particularly high standards. Chief DeRoos, when you came to talk with us about the flock system, the license plate reading cameras, I know we had a deputy city attorney who was extremely cautious about these things. And that's one of the things that's gratifying to me as part of the council, because I see that as part of our job, is to look as broadly as we can, represent all of our communities, especially those that are sensitive to what they sometimes call over-policing presence that's not always helpful. So those are the kinds of things I think about. And I had a few questions that, and by the way, those kinds of questions were well answered in statements that you made and explanations there. And I think that's been borne out by not only the protections you have, but the effectiveness of the system of the flock camera, the license plate camera systems, because what we're dealing with is a trade-off between an acceptable and optimized trade-off between the concerns about privacy, civil rights, and the effectiveness of this. Because a lot of these things, if they weren't effective, we wouldn't do them at all. And the more effective they are, then that helps inform the trade-off that we make. It helps inform the cautions. So some of the questions that come up are, I guess first of them, if I understand it correctly, when you deploy a drone in this case, as opposed to a individually piloted drone, you give it a destination to go to, so you don't need to be viewing everything or everybody or using your high zoom cameras on the way there. That can be used when it's needed, when you have a reason to view. Is that correct?
That is correct. And as a matter of fact, when the drone is flying autonomously to the location of the incident, those cameras are pointed to the horizons. They are not pointed down until the drone is taken over by the pilot, and then the pilot controls the camera. But while en route, they are flying. That camera is looking out to the horizon.
And also in terms of then the access, I remember one of the important and reassuring things about our license plate system from Flock was that the way we operated it, that you needed to have a reason to be viewing that license plate data. There were call numbers, you knew who was accessing it, so it couldn't be used for some illicit or unsavory purposes. With respect to the drone deployments, the video taken, the dashboards, and access to obviously people who need to know in the department, but other public access to monitor the program. Can you say a little more about that dashboard? Who will have access and what kind of footage will be able to be viewed by not just your officers, but by the public or other jurisdictions or other entities?
So the public facing dashboard will be open to the public, and it will be there and available absent any technology glitch. It'll be there available 24/7. And as mentioned, as Brett mentioned, the dashboard is updated continuously as we close calls out. And remember, just like the flock camera system, where we are putting in a reason, we are doing an after flight report, if you will. Flight log is what it's typically called, to describe what type of incident we're going to. It'll show who the pilot was, what the incident case number, and then any notes that are associated with that. So that'll be when you go onto the separate page or the flight log, you're going to see those details. So the public's going to be able to see that. When we talk about any video that might be captured, we're very well versed in the concept of capturing video. We have had body worn cameras for several years. We have drones. We will retain the video the same as those processes, again, based upon our policy and state law. And those will be available to the public based upon public disclosure requests and statutes.
But to be clear, the public facing dashboard, none of that will be video. That will be just numbers of this is where the number of times we've flown. There'll be flight paths to show in general, but not in real time, because that could have some impact on our officers that are maybe out in the field if it's a dangerous call of some sort. But soon after, people can go and look at those. And it's going to be a couple of things we haven't mentioned is that we definitely are going to want public feedback on this. Something that will be mentioned in the longer briefing tomorrow will be the policies will be online. We're going to post our policies so people will have a chance to look at them. We'll have a feedback loop through an email that people can email us and share their feelings about the way the policies are written. But what we don't want it to be used for is for people that they know we flew somewhere, so they're going to go get a copy of the video and use it because it's over their ex-girlfriend's house or something similar. When in the demo, when they talked about the sharing of the video with our partners, here's an example of that. We're responding to a house fire, and Everett Fire is not on scene yet. They don't know what the house fire looks like. We could share with the bat chief, if the drone was overhead, we could share with the bat chief what that fire looks like, which would significantly impact how he or she calls in other fire trucks or other fire apparatus to respond to that fire. So we would share with that partner in that context, right? It wouldn't be something that we would just be broadcasting out for anybody to grab and look at. Some of the overlap may put us in South County. We might share with a deputy, right? All this would have to be worked out with the sheriff, right? But we might share with a deputy, or the deputy's responding to a call that's just outside the city, so they can look at it, but they would not have full-time access to this. We would control that, and it will have an audit feature, just like we were auditing our license plate cameras and are auditing our license plate cameras and how we're accessing them. We will audit who is watching it and using this video. It's not something that would be used without some type of digital fingerprint on it. And we would be able to go back and ask people, okay, why were you looking at this? Or how were you using this?
I had one more question, and I think that one of the things that you mentioned was the danger of the code calls where you're running with lights and sirens and getting through intersections and at high speed. And I know one of the things that your department has been focused on for some years was the danger of pursuits. And that's kind of a great example of the trade-offs where you don't want to never pursue because people will run and you can't do any sort of accountability for offenders nor prevent some crimes. But you also don't want to willy-nilly pursue without serious reasons because of the danger to the public. So if I understand it correctly, in this case, you would be able to reduce some of the pursuits or the need for pursuits by being able to pursue at least from a distance, or to find out if a car was really there or spot a stolen car.
You're correct. The number of pursuits that the Everett Police Department engages in are minimal. And that's by choice. And it's for all the reasons you just described. Having a DFR program will just enhance our ability to locate folks who have fled from us as a result of either a traffic stop or another crime without putting the public in further danger.
Great. I just have a couple questions. So just out of curiosity, what height does the drone have to be in order to zoom in and really get a clear picture of, say, somebody walking on the street?
I may defer this to our flock staff, but I will tell you that the drone that will fly out of the South Precinct will have a 400-foot altitude limit, and the drone that will fly out of the North and probably the North Precinct or City Hall will have a 200 feet flight limit, as long as we're able to get our waivers from the FAA, which we're confident we will be. So, Brett, either you want to take that one?
Happy to help. So, per FAA regulations, council member, the maximum altitude for the drone to fly is 400 feet above ground level. And the FAA breaks out the airspace into basically two layers, 200 feet and below, and then 200 to 400 feet. Now, one thing that we're also going to be deploying with the police department is a ground-based radar. And the ground-based radar allows you to have another layer of safety to be able to monitor the airspace and all the activity in the airspace to fly up to 400 feet. Now, in terms of the camera, at 400 feet, it has a very powerful zoom camera. You can see something like a license plate from probably a half a mile away. You are able to see maybe a front door or something of that size and scale close to about 2 miles away. And so it really reduces the amount of time you have to be flying, and you can really just use the camera. But those are the basic capabilities and altitudes of the camera and the drone.
Great, thank you. Impressive. And then I assume that the purchase or the program comes with a warranty if, winds come up and something happens on the roof of our building and somehow it gets damaged. Is that I assume that's part of the package?
And Garrett, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, because I haven't read the contract as of today, the new one, but I'm sure that if we are flying in a responsible manner, and there is damage to the equipment that is out of our control, that I believe that is covered by the agreement.
Okay. And then, okay, so you talked about the first year, the great deal that's offered, but we still would owe 50,000 for the second drone. What does year 2 look like?
It really depends on what we discover in the first year we need. There's a lot of different products with different price points, but a drone in the configuration that we want to fly out of our South Precinct with radar is around $300,000 a year. So fairly expensive technology. That's why one of the reasons I mentioned earlier, begin with the end in mind. We would be needing to figure out how we would finance and pay for this technology if we discover it's having, an incredible impact on the safety in our community.
Okay.
So, but there's there's so many nuances here that we could go into forever. Jeff Albright, one of our lieutenants, is here, and he makes my eyes roll back in my head when he starts talking about all the tech and what we would do. There's different types of boxes depending on what your needs are. We're going to employ, at least in our trial program, a battery switching box, which allows the drone to come back, switch batteries, go right back out, keeps it in the sky longer. There's other ones that maybe come at a reduced price point. But at the high end, it's 300,000 a year.
Okay, great. Well, I don't know anyone who's had to call 911 that says, I wish they would have taken longer to get to me and more effective. So, I'm a real proponent of the flock cameras that we currently have. And I would love to see a program like this come to fruition and really see what it can do for us. So I thank everyone for being here. And I don't know if
Could I
Councilman
ask-
Weber
Yeah,
has
one
a
more
question.
Thanks. Yeah. I mean, this may be looking too far forward, but at some point would be interested to have the answer to this question. Given that the recommended coverage area, would we ultimately be needing to look at an additional drone or two to make sure the entire city was covered based on the what span of coverage should have? So again, maybe not one you can answer today, but I'd be kind of curious to get.
Well, I think if we ask the salesman, it's going to be, we need a lot more for sure. But but you know what, that's for us to discover, right? Every city's got unique nuances. We've got an airport in the south end, right? We have a Navy base right here that we probably shouldn't be flying over, and all that's going to require a lot of mapping and ensuring that they know where we are and what we're doing. That may be, and the shape of our city may mean that we want, you know, another one at one location for quicker response to, you know, I'm just throwing things out here, like a mudslide along the edge of the bluff over the railroad track, right? So, I mean, there's just lots of things that we don't know yet. We don't know what we don't know, so to speak. But this offer was too good to not at least look into this deeper, have a really true trial period. Again, collect all the data, come back to you and report back to you what it's doing, what it's not doing, what we're hearing from the community that's working. You'll definitely hear what's not working from them. There's no doubt about that. But it was, the offer was too good to pass up.
Councilmember Zarlingo.
Well, one of the things you talked about was in some cases reducing the impact of some responses or the cost, and I assume the cost of them, like the one you mentioned at Silver Lake. I guess what I'm anticipating is, especially, you know, as a council, we're responsible for what the city does, all the things the city does, and the costs of those things. And what I guess I anticipate, tell me if I'm wrong about this, is that we will learn. I mean, we can't hire all the police officers that we'd like. We can't get, you know, as hard as we try. And if we can expand the universe of what we can do with the existing set of officers, then that changes that equation of what we spend on technology versus officer staff and that sort of stuff. So I assume that in this first year, we will learn where this provides leverage and in some ways what that's worth and what it trades off with your officer staffing and that sort of thing. Am I correct in that?
I'm going to very carefully say that I will never support the replacement of bodies with technology, right? I love the idea of making the job safer for our officers and allowing them to do their jobs better and you know, solidifying the cases that they investigate. But I wouldn't want any of our staff to think that this pilot is about seeing, maybe we just don't need that many officers. The bulk of the work that we do is done by the men and women that wear the uniform. This is just another tool. And you can look at our belts and see so many over the years that we didn't have when we started 30 plus years ago that we just absolutely can't live without. This may be that tool. We don't know, but we want to find out.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and tell me one more time, I'll announce at the meeting when your informational meeting is. You guys talked about that earlier.
Tomorrow night, Thursday night, we begin at 6:30.
Okay.
It's a virtual meeting. But for those who are unable to do virtual, we're opening up the South Precinct and the chief will be in attendance there.
Okay, so the virtual meeting, they can get that information online, I assume.
Well, we sent that to all the neighborhood leads,
Okay,
as well as business community, Wayarka, other groups as well. We
okay,
have not publicized that beyond that location because we wanted to focus in on those community groups who we weren't able to reach in advance of council next week because of timing.
But we have some media here. We'll make sure it gets out
Okay,
and gets published.
perfect. Thank you so much. All right, thank you so much, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to learn more and hopefully see if this will work for us. So thank you all.